Are we ready? Okay, let's get started. You want to do the gavel for me, Madam Mayor? There it is. Well done. She is better than me. And one of our finance committee members said, finally, we got a new mayor. So here we are. For anyone who doesn't know, this is Sadie Susulik. This is the mayor for the day. She's at Anderson Elementary. Round of applause. Yeah. What grade are you in? Second grader at Anderson Elementary. So, and her mom, Jessica, and her dad, Ed Susulik, are here today. We've had a great adventure going around the city. So we'll get to that in a moment. So with that, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order for the May 27th joint meeting with City Council and the Finance Committee. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
The record will reflect that Finance Committee member Williams Colopy has an excused absence, and all of the council members are present.
Okay, terrific. We're now going to go into current business. The only item is the review for the proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 operating budget. Do we have our finance director, Jason? You want to give us an update?
Jason Allen, I'm your finance director. Good evening, Mayor Susulik and members of
There
the
you
City
go.
Council. Tonight I'm joined by Shelby. Oh, can you hear me? No? Now? Can you hear me now? Now? Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. All right. Tonight I'm joined by Shelby Burgoan, Deputy Finance Director. This presentation will focus primarily on the operating budget since Public Works is presenting a separate presentation tonight on the proposed capital improvement program. This budget continues to provide funding for the budget priorities listed on this slide. This year's budget also has an additional focus on the continued pay down of the city's pension liability, ensuring proper funding for long-term capital needs, and addressing council's priorities that were identified at the planning session in February. Newport Beach has a very comprehensive budget process. As you can see on this slide, there's been 9 opportunities for public comment, including today's review of the operating budget. I also want to point out that the budget that's presented to you today has been reviewed by the Finance Committee over the past several months, which began with an update to the long-range financial forecast, a 20-year planning tool which projects the city will be on solid financial footing for the years to come. So the proposed budget reflects a 1.3% increase in operating expenditures, which includes funding for the proposed program enhancement requests, which we'll dive into in a moment. Funds are also included for personnel-related costs. In fact, over half of the city's operating budget is allocated to employee salaries and benefits. I did want to point out that contracts with the 10 labor groups are set to expire over the next 12 months. And so as a placeholder, a 2% cost increase has been budgeted for labor expenses until the new agreements are approved. The operating budget will need to be adjusted accordingly to reflect the terms of the finalized labor contracts. The increases in transfers and CAP are interrelated. So for example, transfers increased by $15.5 million, largely to transfer funds from one fund to another to fund CAP projects. We typically have budget revisions each year which are needed to amend the proposed budget that was published in early May. This is done to account for items that the City Council has approved since then, which impact next year's budget. So for example, the City Council recently approved 2 new MOUs with AMBAL, the Lifeguard Group, and the Firefighters Association in the amount of $2.8 million. This slide lists the revenues and expenditures that are needed to be modified in order to fully fund operations and projects next year. So for example, the $8.4 million in funding related to the Newport Dunes and Big Canyon Restoration Project are funded in the CIP. However, the grant revenue was omitted from the proposed budget. Therefore, these revenues need to be added to the fund to fund the related projects. This slide incorporates the aforementioned budget revisions. For example, the previous slide showed the operating budget at $372.9 million, which now reflects a budget of $376 million, a $3.1 million increase directly related to the aforementioned budget revisions. This slide shows all operating expenditures excluding capital improvement projects broken down by fund. Governmental fund accounting uses separate funds to ensure transparency and accountability by tracking revenues and expenditures for specific purposes. This is especially important when resources are legally restricted. In Newport Beach, this approach allows the city to manage and report on the general fund separately from the water and wastewater enterprise funds and other special grant funds, ensuring that utility rate revenues and grant funds are used exclusively for their intended purposes. As you can see, nearly 70% of the budget is funded by the general fund. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Shelby to review the general fund's revenues and expenditures.
Good afternoon. We will now transition into the general fund budget overview. Total projected general fund revenue for fiscal year 2025-26 is $332.5 million. This 2.8% or $9 million growth is primarily driven by the city's main three sources of revenue: property tax, sales tax, and transient occupancy tax. Almost 75% of total general fund revenues come from these three sources. Property tax represents close to 50% of total general fund revenue and is projected to grow 4.8%, or about $7 million next year. Sales tax represents just under 15% of general fund revenue and is projected to grow 4.6% next year. Transient occupancy tax, or TOT, represents approximately 10% of general fund revenue and is projected to grow just over 4% next year. I'd like to highlight an error on the TOT graph on this slide. The fiscal year 24 actuals for TOT total $32 million, not $20 million. The proposed general fund expenditure budget totals $321.4 million. This is a 3.3% increase over the current year adopted budget, or about $10 million. The proposed budget includes $40 million towards paying down the city's unfunded pension liability with CalPERS, which is the same level included in the current year's adopted budget. Later in the presentation, we will talk more about the UAL payment. Here is a reconciliation of the $10 million growth in the general fund from the fiscal year 25 adopted budget to the fiscal year 26 proposed budget. Proposed budget revisions, sometimes referred to as the checklist, that Jason highlighted, account for just over $3 million of the growth and include the new MOUs with Newport Beach Fire Association, as well as the Association of Newport Beach Ocean Lifeguards. Internal service charges are decreasing by $1.7 million, mainly attributed to the OPEB pension liability for retiree medical benefits that is now fully paid off. General fund program enhancements, which we will go through on the next few slides, make up another $1.5 million. Inflationary adjustments to maintenance and operating budgets total just over $2.5 million. The budget for personnel, before the MOUs with all of the bargaining groups, is seeing a modest growth of 0.3%. Increases to transfers to various capital funds that were originally discussed at the council planning session added $5.6 million to the general fund budget. A decrease in the transfer to the Tidelands Capital Fund is due to CIP projects planned for fiscal year 26 being lower than in fiscal year 25. We'll now discuss the proposed program enhancements and staffing changes. Over the next few slides, you will see a summary of the proposed enhancements by fund and department. Net zero amounts indicate that the request resulted in a no-cost change due to a corresponding decrease within a department's budget or an offsetting revenue. We will look at a summary of staffing changes on subsequent slides, so I will highlight some of the larger non-personnel enhancements. The City Attorney's Office is proposing an increase to contract prosecutorial services. The Fire Department is requesting to add budget to fire station maintenance accounts and their Equipment Internal Service Fund. The Harbor Department is requesting to maintain a used patrol vessel, as well as increasing training budgets. The Human Resources Department is requesting to increase budget for recruitment and physicals and wellness programs and benefits. The Library Department is increasing the Cultural Arts Division funding now that the 3-year sculpture exhibition period has been approved, which results in an increase to next year's budget, but savings over the 3-year period. The Police Department is requesting to increase budget to various line items such as flock data storage, wildlife care expenses, and vehicle washing expenses. The Public Works Department is requesting to add additional budget for facilities maintenance needs, parks and hazard mitigation expenses, contract inspector work, and automobile parts, materials, and supplies. Recreation and Senior Services is requesting additional budget for staffing and maintaining the new lecture hall, as well as temporary restrooms at North Star Beach for the summer. Finally, the Utilities Department is proposing additional support for the wastewater CCTV maintenance program. All proposed enhancements total $2.2 million, with $1.5 million in the general fund. These next two slides list all additional staffing, position reclassifications, and conversions from part-time to full-time. If there's no number in either of the right two columns, this indicates that it is a reclassification of an existing position. To highlight some of the position additions, Community Development is requesting to add a management analyst position. Fire is requesting to convert 3 part-time lifeguard officers to full-time lifeguard officers. Public Works is requesting an additional crew chief. IT is requesting an IT engineer to focus on cybersecurity. As a result, the fiscal year 26 proposed budget requests 7 additional full-time staff, with part-time staff reduced by 1.04 FTE, netting to an increase of 6 full-time equivalent positions. This bar chart shows total personnel over the years. The top color of the bar graph represents part-time positions, and the navy color represents full-time positions. If approved, the fiscal year 26 budget will grow the number of total positions in the city to 927 full-time equivalents. With that, I'll turn it back over to Jason.
So just kind of recap, at the 30,000-foot level, general fund sources and uses. This slide summarizes revenues and expenditures for the current year, fiscal year 24-25, and fiscal year 25-26. As you can see, in the current year, we're projecting a surplus of $17.5 million. That's based upon the second quarter budget update that was brought forward to the City Council a couple months ago. We're actually bringing forward a third quarter update to the Finance Committee on Thursday, and that will be over around $18.7 million. Next year's budget reflects a $12.2 million surplus. However, a significant portion of the surplus will be needed to fully fund those expiring labor contracts. For example, item 11 on tonight's agenda includes a tentative agreement with the Police Association. We need to increase next year's budget by approximately $4.5 million to cover the costs associated with this agreement alone. As a result, we're not recommending the use of these funds at this time. Now, looking at the city's pension liability, wanted to provide you with a status update. Last fall, CalPERS reported a 9% investment return for fiscal year 23-24. This exceeded the expected rate of return of 6.8%. And because the actual return outperformed expectations, our funded status increased to nearly 77%. This chart shows the city's pension funded status over an 18-year period. So from 2007 to 2024, the city's pension liability was 92% funded in 2007 and then fell to 57% funded in 2009. That's when the stock market crashed during the Great Recession. The blue line shows the CalPERS investment returns, and then the yellow line shows the expected rate of return. You can basically see whenever CalPERS fails to earn the expected rate of return, it has a direct impact on the city's funded status. Nonetheless, the city has made significant improvement in the funded status because the City Council has committed to a very aggressive pension paydown strategy. 11 years ago, the City Council implemented pension reform by creating a lower benefit plan for new employees, which are referred to as Tier 2 Classic. And then in 2013, the state enacted the Public Employee Pension Reform Act, which established a third benefit tier known as PEPRA. As of last year, PEPRA employees now make up more than 50% of our workforce. PEPRA is significant because it introduced cost containment measures to address the growing financial burden of public pensions on state and local governments, established lower benefit formulas for new employees, raised retirement ages, and increased employee cost sharing. PEPRA supports a more sustainable and fiscally responsible pension system over the long term. So again, Newport Beach has committed to an aggressive pension paydown strategy. The proposed budget includes $40 million in the baseline budget that's allocated to paying down the pension liability. This is roughly 10% of our overall budget, operating budget. It's recommended that the additional $5 million be added as a supplemental appropriation at fiscal year end. The current projection shows the pension liability will be eliminated in 2033, or roughly 8 years. This assumes the city continues to pay $45 million annually, and that CalPERS earns 6.8% each year on average. So to recap, the budget is balanced. It provides funding to maintain and enhance vital programs while maintaining an aggressive pension paydown strategy. The budget also includes funding to address long-term capital needs. This concludes our presentation. We're available if you have any questions.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Jason and Shelby. Do you have any questions, Sadie? You want to still do this? Okay. Any questions or comments by council members? And we'll go to Finance Committee as well. Councilmember Grant.
Just a comment. I wanted to say what a pleasure it's been to work with Jason and his team and Shelby and the rest of the team in the last couple months since I've been on the Finance Committee, and to have an opportunity to actually see the progress of this important document, as it, moved through our committee and now brought here. And it's just really been a pleasure to see how efficient and practical you are in implementing all of these processes. So thank you so much.
Terrific. Any other questions or comments up here? You have your hand up. What would you like to say?
Is this about money?
This is about money, a lot of money. Do you want to ask the question? Do you have a question?
Maybe you want to add something to the budget.
You want pizzas on Fridays?
No.
No? All right. We'll think about it. Any Finance Committee members, do you guys have any questions or comments? Committee Member Kenny.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Bill Kenny, Finance Committee. We did point out at previous Finance Committee meetings that with the uncertainty with respect to our economy, we asked staff to look at potential losses of revenues, especially TOT, as we know that, Canadians, for example, who used to spend time here are avoiding the United States, just to make sure we had a contingency plan. And Jason was very quick to point out that our budget is at, full employment, and we're never really at full employment. But just the fact that we may have a dip, and we want to make sure that if we have to cut into CIP, that we have, at least some idea as to where we might cut in the worst case scenario. Thank you.
Terrific. Any other committee member comments? Okay. Councilman Ballin.
Well, thank you. And I know this is a Herculean lift to get this done. I spent 4 wonderful years on finance and realized, wow, we do a really good job. So they didn't need my help at all. But thank you all for making this come to fruition. And Bill, to your piece, this is Newport Beach. We keep going up. We don't go down. All right. They keep coming here. It's not the other way around. But even looking at some of the sheets you guys put out, the projections, I think, we've always had strength in being modest and conservative when we come through with our projections. And I think that is very much the case currently as well. You look at what industry trends are, you look at what we're building, and, I am so thankful to be in such a great city that is so fiscally managed in such a responsible way. We look around at I can literally say every city in Orange County, and we are just not them. We are managing our budget responsibly. We're spending money that we have in surplus, and everything else is not banking on the future, but relying on it and building that. So I want to thank our finance department and the amazing job the two of you have done and the entire committee as a whole. So thank you very much.
Terrific. Any other comments up here before we go to public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll now have public comments on this item. Mr. Mosier.
Mayor Stapleton, Assistant Mayor, and council members. My name is Jim Mosier. The budget is actually a thick book and has much more detail in it that could be gone over in the presentation. One of the services we're proud of in Newport Beach is our library system. To be proud of our library system, it has to buy new materials all the time. And one of those details deep inside the budget is the amount the council is allocating to the library to purchase those materials. And I notice in the proposed budget, there's absolutely no change from the previous year, even though clearly the cost of materials is constantly increasing. I think that's something we need to pay attention to if we want to have a wonderful library as we have now. And I would point out it was in that mode for about 10 years in the past, and then once got an inflationary increase. I think we should be doing that continuously. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments on this item?
Adam Leverins. I want to share Mr. Kinney's concern about just being prepared. I'm a little older than you, Councilmember Blum. Economic downturns do happen. I mean, they're few and far between here, but it's good to have money in the bank. And then on a particular item I saw in the materials online, there's $1.1 million designated for restrooms at 15th Street on the Peninsula. While I certainly agree those could benefit, when I'm down here, I bodyboard there a lot. But there's other places where there are no restrooms, like at the 10th Street on the Peninsula Beach. That beach is pretty heavily used in the summer. And then the biggest, grandest dock in Newport Beach has no public restrooms anywhere near it. So I'd like just some contemplation on places where there might be a benefit. I know there's a lot of concern about what goes into the harbor. I've heard that at the commission and here and from other people. And I'm going to talk more about restrooms on consent. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back up here. I don't think we have any other additional comments. I would just say, as the chairman of the Finance Committee and serving on the Finance Committee for the last 6 years, kudos to the team and the entire committee, and thank you to the Finance Committee for your hard work, and Bill Colopy, who's not here with us. You guys have continued to ask good questions, do your homework, go through the book, and a long-lasting legacy of fiscally conservative policies and fiscal issues here in the city. Another balanced budget and a surplus focused on quality of life, infrastructure, and paramount amongst all else is public safety. So thank you to the committee and the finance team for all you've done, and Sadie for all that you did as mayor today. Well done on the budget. Do we need any direction on this from the staff? We'll bring it back when the finance committee on Thursday, and then bring it back to approval in our next meeting. Okay. Terrific. We're going to adjourn the city, the joint meeting, and we're going to head into, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order for the May 27th study session. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
The record will reflect that all members of council are present, including our mayor for the day.
Oh, I missed public comments on non-agenda items. Do we want to, I'll go back real quick. Does anyone have any public comments on non-agenda items? Okay, terrific. All right, we're going to go to current business. First item is clarification on items of the consent calendar. Councilmember Wygan, do you need any clarification regarding any items on the consent calendar?
No, I do not.
Councilmember Bartow?
No.
Councilmember Grant?
None.
Councilmember Blum?
I have none, thank you.
Councilmember Weber?
None.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleiman?
None.
Mayor Sisolik? None? Okay. And I have none as well. Okay, Sadie, this is your moment. Next is a proclamation recognizing Sadie Sisolik as mayor for the day. I'll read the proclamation, and then Mayor Sadie, you can join us with a few words if you'd like, and then we'll take a photo and we'll return you to your family. Does that sound like a plan? Okay. All right. You'll find this is one of the best things to do as the mayor, proclamations. Okay. Whereas the city of Newport Beach is proud to recognize our young leaders who demonstrate outstanding civic curiosity, boundless energy, and a commitment to community service. Sadie Skye Sisolik, an exceptional second grade student at Anderson Elementary School, has been selected to serve as mayor for a day, making her the youngest member of her family to step into public service and participate in local government. Sadie approaches this honor with joy, enthusiasm, and sincere love for her hometown, values that reflect the strong foundation built by her family and the vibrant neighborhood school that nurtures her. During her term as mayor for a day, Sadie took part in an exciting and educational day of civic engagement, including attending the Newport Beach Fire Department pinning ceremony this morning, touring City Hall and Newport Beach Police Department and the fire station. I will tell you, Chief Boyle, she didn't get a fire pin. She got one from the Harbor Department, one from the Police Department, and she's got her mayor pin. So if we can find her a fire department pin, that'd be a home run. And we did the Big Canyon Reservoir with her mother. We walked on water, 200 million gallons of water, and she enjoyed a scenic harbor tour with the Harbor Department. And that was a lot of fun, and observing our city council meeting here. So when she's not busy touring her city in her official capacity, Sadie is a caring pet parent to her 3 dogs, Ziggy, Freddie, and Katie, an athlete on the flag football field, an explorer on her bike, and a loyal friend and sister to 5 older siblings who cheer her on. We also got to tour the Whitty Lecture Hall, and she got to do that before most anyone else. So that was another great highlight. Sadie has inspired all of us with her bright spirit, her love for adventure, and her genuine dedication to learning how her city works. Now, therefore, I, Joe Stapleton, mayor of the greatest city, the city of Newport Beach, on behalf of the entire Newport Beach City Council, do here proclaim Sadie Sky Sislik mayor for a day. Congratulations. Would you like to say something? Why don't you tell everyone what you saw in the harbor and what you got to do? What did you touch?
A jellyfish.
You touched a jellyfish. Well, let's take a photo, and then I'll return you back to your family. This has been a lot of joy, and you've done a terrific job. You can have my job any day. Well done.
Family go first. Oh, hold on, Sadie. You can't escape yet. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3. Good job. Okay, next is a review of the proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 capital improvement program budget. As in years past, council members will announce any conflicts they have regarding this item and will leave the room for any discussion regarding matters where they have a conflict. Do any council members have a conflict to announce? Councilmember Weigand?
No.
Councilmember Bartow?
No.
Councilmember Grant?
None.
I'm sure, Blum, you have a few. You gonna get out a book to read?
Sorry, give me 30 seconds here.
All right.
All right. Yes, I have conflicts to announce. Interest in real property on 417 and 501 30th Street for the Balboa and Newport Boulevard repavement projects and the Violito and Via Puerto improvement projects. And then a real property interest on 224 Marine for the Balboa Island water main replacements, drainage pump station and seawall improvements, and the assessment district for 124.
That's all.
It was clean.
That was not bad.
I actually think we were less this
I
time.
might have
around.
more than you. Councilmember Weber.
Nice.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleiman.
Interest in and proximity to my personal residence for 1, the Shore Cliffs water system improvements, and 2, landscape enhancement for the Cameo Shores and Highlands enhancements, or neighborhoods.
Okay, I'd like to announce that I have a conflict in the following items. Number 1, the street drainage, concrete, and pavement work in the airport area based upon my interest in the property at 4100 and 4110 MacArthur. The oil well work in the unincorporated area of the county along West Coast Highway based on my interest in personal residence. And the Balboa Yacht Basin dock replacement and dredging work based on the interest of one of my clients who lives near the site and the source and is a source of income. Okay, Public Works Director, Dave Webb, do you have a report?
We do.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. Hey, we're excited today to come to you. This has been a long process. If you recall, way back in February 1st, we started our planning sessions, and we went through various discussions, various committees, finance committees. We had an early look discussion about what we thought everybody accumulated into a budget. We've taken that information, any last-minute comments, and we put it into what you see, your draft capital improvement program. Deputy Director and Chief Engineer Jim Houlihan will be going through the presentation, then we'll take any questions you have.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor Stapleton, council members. We're going to start with the city's CIP. It sets our priorities and appropriates funds, provides the a basis for the project planning and identifies potential conflicts. It allows for the development and construction of identified public improvements, addresses significant maintenance projects, and responds to changing priorities and conditions throughout the city. This current fiscal year, the Public Works team has completed over 39 capital improvement projects and a total value of $82 million. And currently, we have an additional 19 projects either in design or construction valued at $50 million. Those listed below are some of the major projects, Whitty Hall being the one that we're all very familiar with. That is on schedule to be complete by the end of this year. This is a comprehensive list of all the 39 projects and that will be completed or have been completed by the end of this fiscal year, by the end of June. So for the next fiscal year coming, we have 69 items proposed for a total of about $109 million. 66 million in new funding and 42 million in rebudget. And rebudget being budget from this current year or from previous years that have rolled forward for some of the projects that are longer term. And some of those are listed below here. You can see some have been on the list for maybe the last year or two as we go through permitting and design. The list here, the summary is a breakdown by category. And the 8 categories that we have that we track our projects, about 85% of those of the dollars there, and that's rebudget and new budget, is in the 4 categories of facilities, streets and drainage, parks, harbor, beaches, and water. So those are a significant part of our CIP. So the following next few slides will be a list of all the projects by by category, starting with facilities. So the facilities around a $20 million budget, and some of the highlights mentioned earlier, 15th Street restroom. That will likely go to construction not this coming fall, but the following fall. We're going to go through permitting and design this year. The Balboa Branch Library and Fire Station, that's due to start this fall. So we're excited to get that project started. Under the streets and drainage, we have about 20 projects. Quite a few in the paving rehabilitation, and some of our main focus is on the airport area in the coming year. So a total of $33 million.
one of those airport-related projects, Bristol Street North, and that's due to start in the fall of this year. Under landscape enhancement, we'll continue working on the East Coast Highway Beautification Project with the Coralindo HOA, where the apartments are and the wall, and also in the Santa Ana Heights area and the Mesa Drive Horse Trail, both of which we'll be working on designs next year with construction in the summer or fall next year. And just a note, we're not proposing any work or funding on Ocean Boulevard, which is item 9 tonight. And that's going to be a receive and file item of the PB&R recommendations. So we're not proposing any additional funding at this time.
Can I clarify that, Jim? In the proposed budget, because we guessed back in March and we didn't know where that project was going to go, we'll talk about tonight. There is a mention of Ocean Boulevard in there, but that'll be revised, taken out, and also the Santa Ana Trail that we are now adding, the Mesa Trail, will be put in that. So the new budget, when we adopt it, will have that better language in there for you.
Right. Another airport area project, MacArthur Boulevard, significant improvement to that roadway. We're going to be adding landscape medians and bike lanes to that roadway as it becomes more residential, and that'll begin in early 2026. The oceanfront boardwalk expansion, I know there's been a lot of discussion related to the 15th Street restroom project. That will be wrapped into the pier project discussions. So we'll have, as that comes forward, and I'll talk about that in a second, we'll be also talking about the boardwalk at that time. A couple projects, pavement projects in the Spyglass area, San Miguel Drive, the length of it from San Joaquin to Old Ford Road will be in design next year, and Spyglass Hill Road will be in construction in the fall. And then another airport project, the Von Carmen from MacArthur to campus. So a lot of projects in our streets and drainage. For transportation, we're proposing about $2.3 million there, and significant item is the trolley program. So the Balboa Peninsula Trolley will begin another 7-year run with new trolleys coming in the summer of 26. And we're also we're starting efforts to secure trolleys for the expanded trolley service to the central and CDM portions of the city. And the picture below represents closely what we'll be looking at for the trolley. Parks, harbors, and beaches, about $24 million. One of the significant projects will be Bonita Creek Park and the field turf replacement. But in addition, we'll be adding a lot of concrete improvement through there, a lot of the paving around the bleachers and those type of areas, and landscaping throughout the park. And that's scheduled to start design now, or this beginning of the fiscal year, with construction in spring or summer next year. In the harbor section, the Balboa Island seawalls will beginning the design and permitting for that project. And tentatively, the first phase of construction would be as soon as 27-28 fiscal year. And the bottom item, we're all waiting for that, the harbor-wide dredging. Currently is out to bid with the Corps of Engineers, which is great news. And the project is estimated to start this summer. So really excited about that one. And as I mentioned earlier, the Newport Pier and McFadden Square project, the outreach efforts will begin this summer on that project. Under the water quality environmental category, about $8.7 million, the majority of which are grants. And the Big Canyon Restoration Phase 3, about 2/3 of it is California Department of Fish and Wildlife land. About 1/3 of that project is city land. The city has stepped up to take over construction management of that project, and we've bid it, and we're waiting for the final grants to come in. So we're working on that, and we hope to start construction this fall on that project. Underwater, a little over $16 million in this budget. Biggest portion, or more than half of the budget, would be toward the Irvine Terrace East Short Cliff and Mid-Balboa Peninsula waterline replacements. And this project is scheduled to start in the beginning of 26. It's under design right now. Another big item, obviously, is the new water wells for the city. And this project is for a new well site in Fountain Valley, and the water lines needed to connect the well to our existing system. The site's been selected, and permitting and design will begin this summer. Some additional items here for our water system upgrades. Under wastewater, $1.5 million. These are typical yearly sewer-related CIPs that we have every year. Helps us tackle a lot of projects that come up throughout the year on the sewer main lining and repair. And under our miscellaneous, about $2 million. The biggest item is the completion of the general plan and the airport area specific plan. And these final pieces, these are the final pieces for the general plan, which is great. Again, a recap of all the CIP expenditures proposed for this coming year, and a breakdown by fund. The big four are tides and submerged lands, water fund, general fund, and the major facilities financing plan. They make up over 65% of the funding for the CIP. Any questions?
Great report. Lots going on in the city. Your department's busy. Any comments up here on city council members? Yeah, go ahead. Councilmember Weigand.
Yeah, thank you for the detailed report. It's good stuff. On page 12, the bottom had mentioned the bridge, pedestrian bridge. Is the majority of that coming from OCTA grants, or is that what's the dollar breakdown on that one?
So currently, we are in the design effort, and we expect, because most of the money, the 75-25, came from OCTA through a grant, through their M2. So we've been talking with them on different avenues of potential grants, maybe the M2, maybe some other state money on that project. So we haven't hammered down exactly the grant funding, but it'll be significant portion of that project.
Because the first connector of that bridge was a significant amount coming from M2 and state, so that was very helpful, and yes, hopefully we can find something like that on this one, because it would kind of connect the pieces.
Absolutely.
On page 17, there was the water. Was that going to be and I don't see Mark in the audience to ask, but I know that OCWD was providing some loans to a couple cities. Was that including the loan program that OCWD has for that well, or is that a separate well that we're looking at?
No, that is the exact well that you're talking about. So the design side, we're looking to fund that portion through our CIP, but again, as we move forward with the construction of that, which is $20+ million, that's what we'll be looking for. OCWD, they have a program for helping with construction.
Yeah, Mark's been real helpful in trying to kind of get us at the top of the list for that. But I know that we issued a couple loans. We just did one a couple weeks ago to Santa Ana, and then we did one a few months ago to Seal Beach. So awesome. That helps us on the council with their program, because it takes that money and kind of amortizes it out. So it's beneficial to us. So I appreciate us looking into that, especially Mark. He does a great job of trying to find savings where there's places to do that. So I appreciate it. And then on the Mesa Trail, thank you for adding that to discussion on page 8.
Councilmember Bartow.
Yes, also 17 and 18, the OC sanitation district is grading the pump system on Bayside. Do we have any costs reflected in that, or is that completely on their end? Or is part of that 16.7 million going towards that?
No, it's completely their project and their funding.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other council comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll go out to public comments on this item. Mr. Mosier.
Thank you again, Mayor Stapleton, members of the council. It looked like from the presentation the biggest ticket facility item coming up is anticipated to be the Balboa Library Fire Station replacement. I had heard, I don't know if it's true or not, that the permit that you approved for that may have been appealed to the Coastal Commission. It's not appeared on any of their agendas. And for the construction to happen, the library doesn't have to relocate, but the fire station does to keep operating during the construction. And I'm not sure if you're aware, the current proposal to put a temporary facility in one of the parking lots by the Balboa Pier led to one of the most contentious zoning administrator hearings I've ever attended by Zoom. And I assume that might go through some appeals as well. So I am curious, and I would guess you would be too, how realistic it is that the construction will actually start on schedule with those items pending, if they are. Thank you.
Okay, any other public comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back up here. Any other comments up here? Okay, terrific job, guys, well done. 39 projects, $82 million in 1 year, not bad. You guys are busy. Yeah. Do we have any? We just received a file. Cool. Okay. Thank you. All right. Now's the time for public comments on non-agenda items. Any public comments on non-agenda items? Okay. Seeing none, we were going to roll right into the regular meeting. Here we go. Okay. I'll call the meeting to order for the May 27th regular City Council meeting. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
The record will reflect that council has not moved.
Terrific. Let's do invocation by Councilmember Bartow. Oh, you want to do it? You got it?
All right. Bless the soul, Lord. No, just kidding. Dear God, thank you for the wonderful city we live in. Thank you for our leaders. Thank you for those young people who are inspired to be future leaders. We are truly blessed to live in a beautiful place with the community members who want to give back. Thank you for our first responders and all that they do. We are lucky to have their leadership. That's it. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. Well done. All right, I'll go ahead and lead us in the pledge. Please join me as we salute the greatest symbol of freedom in the world. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Well done, Councilmember Bartow, on the fly. Okay, now is the time for a presentation. This is one of my favorite segment of today. We've got a very, very, very special guest. We have our former Centennial Mayor and Public Works Director, former Mayor Don Webb. He's clearly an encyclopedia of knowledge here in the city of Newport Beach. He started working for the city in 1968 and rose to the ranks of Public Works Director in 1994. He retired in 2001 and then quickly got elected to City Council, where he served for 8 years. And in 2006, he had the privilege of serving as our Centennial Mayor in the 100th anniversary and celebration of our city. And he is most recently claim to fame is getting the restoring and putting up the vintage wooden seal on the side of our council chamber. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our former mayor and give us a history of the Boy Scout Jamboree. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I want to recognize that I brought a support group along with me just to make sure you didn't pick on me too much. My wife, my 2 sons, and 2 of my granddaughters. And the 2 sons were both Boy Scouts and Eagle Scouts and attended both national jamborees and world jamborees. So I'm proud of them too. Well, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and speak about one of my many adventures, the 3rd National Boy Scout Jamboree. Next. A jamboree is a national or international assembly of Boy Scouts. The first national jamboree was held at the Washington Memorial in Washington, D.C. in 1937. The second one was held at Valley Forge in 1950. The big gap in between was because of World War II. Next. I bet you young whippersnappers up there have no idea what was going on back in 53. Here's a list. I'll just highlight a couple. Here, I started in 9th grade at Tucson, Arizona. Was 14 years old. Eisenhower and Vice President Nixon replaced Truman. The first Corvette was produced, and the Korean War ended. And, of course, the 3rd National Boy Scout Jamboree at Irvine Ranch. Next. Here's a postcard picture of Newport, what it looked like in the 50s. Most all of the city was oceanward of Coast Highway, with the exception of a few houses in Newport Heights. No houses were in Irvine Terrace yet. So a lot of vacant area. Next. The 1953 incorporated area of the city is shown in blue. The red area shows the 3,000-acre jamboree site provided by the Irvine Ranch, and the gray area shows what is Newport today. Our city population was only about 12,000 at the time. Notice how much space the jamboree took compared to what is in Newport. Next. Here's an aerial of the jamboree site outlined in red. If you look on the left-hand side, that line that goes up there is MacArthur Boulevard, the only paved street that was out there. The Irvine Road, which is now called Jamboree, snaked through the site and ended up coming out at Avocado. There was an extension of Marine Avenue that met this road up right about where the police headquarters were. Next. Oh, excuse me, one thing. Jamboree site covered Newport Center and Fashion Island, Harbor Cove, Park Newport, Colonel Del Mar High School, The Bluffs, East Bluff, One Ford Road, Belcourt, Sea Island, and Canyon Mesa. Fairly significant part of the city. Next. Here's one showing the southerly half of the site. And just to let you know a little bit, the map on the left shows how it was broken into 38 sections. Each section had 34 troops. There was a total of about 1,225 troops. And each troop had 40 scouts and leaders, or about another 49,000 people, and 3,000 support people. Total attendance about 52,000. About 3 times or 3.5 times more than what was in Newport Beach at the time. The right picture shows another view of the Jamboree headquarters, which is in the center of it. And there was an avenue of flags right in there that was very impressive, with the flags of 52 countries. Next. Again, there's this site looking the other direction. And I'm showing this primarily because the main arena was the slopes that are now the A and B streets of East Bluff. And we put over 70,000 people on that slope, looking down at the flat area, which is now Colonel Del Mar High School. And then again, you can see the avenue of the flags there. Next. My journey to the Jamboree began in Tucson, Arizona about 8 p.m. on November 12th, where we boarded buses for the trip to the Irvine Ranch. There were 4 bus loads of scouts and a semi-truck of gear to convoy across the Yuma Desert. We spent the next night at the San Diego Marine Corps Recruit Center. They gave us a tour of the bay and a real landing craft and showed us some of the military equipment that was around at the time. There was a quick stop at the San Diego Zoo the next morning on the way to the ranch. We entered the ranch on a little road that was off of Coast Highway, approximately where Avocado is. And we were greeted by banners that relate to the 12 points of the Scout Law. Next. Our camp setup finished in the morning of the 15th with the Jamboree not officially starting until the 17th. We were giving tour opportunities. I chose Knott's Berry Farm. At the general store is where I started my addiction to cinnamon jelly beans. You all have them. I hope. That is what is in the bag in front of you. The tour I chose the next day was an airplane flight. It was my first airplane flight, and I was on a Marine C-47, just like the one that is there. We flew over the Jamboree site as well as parts of L.A. And my tummy didn't quite handle that too well, but I kept it in. Next. Each of the troops would decorate the entry to their site with entryways or gateways, and these are some of the ones that we saw there. Our Tucson one was right up on the upper left, and we were called the Desert Rats. The tallest one that I can remember was the harbor area one, as you can see. With the Sea King, it was over 40 feet high, and it was designed by Corona del Mar cartoonist Virgil Patch. And I think he passed away in 1980, so you may not be familiar with him. Next. For the opening ceremony on the 17th, all the scouts and leaders joined, maybe 20,000 guests, assembled at the main arena for the opening ceremony, which began with a video message from President Eisenhower. Next. The opening event theme was the story of America. Our nation's westward movement happened as the scouts watched. It started with Columbus and went all the way through to the present day. And it was close to 10,000 scouts participated in it in each of the section. They had a huge army of Revolutionary soldiers march through. There was actually a part of one of the Columbus's boats would pull through. Actual covered wagons made a circle in the center of it. What was probably the greatest challenge was they had 2 real live engines, steam engines, that met to drive the Golden Spike to celebrate the transcontinental railroad. Next. Please note at the upper picture, that's Chef Don, or Chef Webb, taking one of his cooking duties. How do you feed 52,000 scouts and leaders? Of course, with tons of food. And you read the list there of some of those. Each of these sections had a commissary tent that distributed food. Each section had 34 troops, and each troop had 4 8-scout patrols plus 8 leaders. Cooking was done by patrol for 10. Around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, 2 patrol members would take a wagon up to the commissary tent and pick up food for the next 3 meals. Breakfast and dinner were hot, cooked over charcoal, and lunch was cold. Usually you could take it with you when you were out and about in case you couldn't get back for lunch. Next. During the day, we roamed the site participating in many activities. Many of those, or some of those, are pictured up here. The most talked about was trading. There were 6 large trading tents spread all over the site, where scouts would gather to trade almost anything they could tell a story about. Imagine the story a Pennsylvania coal miner's son might tell about a lump of gold to make it more valuable than a splinter from the axe of Paul Bunyan that came from Wisconsin. Our horny toads were prize items. You may even see a few of the great-grandchildren floating around here because they got escaped. President Nixon, or Vice President Nixon, told us that a Texan got his fountain pen for a rattlesnake skin. But scout patches were the most valuable item, or most traded items. Next. Many of the scouts had never seen or been in the ocean. All got a chance to be bused to Huntington Beach State park for swim. The buddy system with tags on boards was used. You put a tag on the board when you went in the water, and you and your buddy took it off when you came out, and they wouldn't let the buses leave until all the tags were off the board. They didn't lose a single scout. Next. Sunday schedule allowed all the scouts to follow the 12th point of the scout law, which is a scout is reverent. All 5 arenas and several other areas had different faith services, including the Buddhist service. That evening, we all gathered at the main arena for a convocation service. Vice President Nixon spoke, but the most memorable and impressive part of the service was the candlelight service at the end. You had over 50,000 candles lit on the hillside, and the blackness was overwhelming. Those were the only lights that you could see, and it was just I still every now and then will drive down past Galaxy Park and look across this way, and there's so many night lights out there now. I just wonder what it would have looked like with the flickering flames instead. Next. We also had a presentation from Hollywood stars. It seems like they couldn't resist visiting the site. They put on shows at the 4 smaller arenas, and on Tuesday night we had the largest one with Bob Hope as the MC. I kind of like Debbie Reynolds best of all. Next. For the closing event, we had what we call the Cavalcade of Scouting. Before that, we had our most special meal. They served us we had to prepare sirloin steaks at our various different camps. They were delicious. But the final event then started after we finished, which showed how scouting fits into the great story of building of America. The pageant showed how scouts train us in developing our reliance and initiative, showing us how to take care of ourselves through scout crafts and skills. Next. We'd come to the end. Our troop was one of the first to arrive, so it had to leave on the first departure day. Everything was packed and loaded by lunch. Our buses headed for Tucson. Our worn-out band of campers arrived home about 1 a.m. to be greeted by parents eager to hear our stories about the Jamboree. I think my parents made me take a bath before let me go to sleep. About 12,000 scouts per day left the site until no one remained by the end of the day on the 27th of July. Today, many men like me tell the tales of their Jamboree adventures. There are 2 markers in Jamboree Road that remain to remind us of the 3rd National Boy Scout Jamboree. Next. My thanks go out to all who made the Jamboree so memorable that I am able to make this presentation 72 years later. Your Centennial Mayor.
Well done. That was really, really impressive.
If you have any questions, I'm here. The only thing that I have, this uniform is not the Jamboree uniform, but it does have the patch that I got 72 years ago.
That's really cool. Thank you. Do you have a question or a comment, Councilmember Grant?
Don, you never, ever fail to amaze us.
Yeah.
Centennial Mayor, Walk-in Don, this whole journey through the Jamboree, you're just such a remarkable piece of our community, and we are so lucky to have you here with us again. A little side note, my husband was 6 years old at that time, and he came to the Jamboree for the day. They had a house here in Newport Beach from Culver City, so I heard a lot of stories about it from him.
You don't mind if I take my entourage out and leave, do you? So
Not at all. You've earned that right. Okay. Thank you so much. And then next on the history, we've got the Hollywood Riviera at the next council meeting. One more thing, yeah.
Yeah, your mayor.
Sadie, yeah.
Teacher is in the audience. My daughter-in-law, Paige.
Sadie and I were walking around City Hall, and we ran into the former Centennial Mayor, and she's like, that was my former teacher. Small world.
I'm always the Centennial Mayor, not former.
Always a former mayor, always a centennial mayor. There's only one centennial mayor. Fair
Walking
enough.
Don Webb.
Oh, that was a highlight. Thank you, Centennial Mayor. Okay, now is the time for council announcements or reports from council members on committee activities, and time for council members to request an A1 item to be placed on a future agenda. Councilmember Weigand.
Yes, my report is a little different than usual. I reached out to Chief Boyles and Chief O'Rourke and Battalion Chief Adam Yasenda at the Lifeguards operations, and I wanted stats on what happened out on our beaches for this last weekend. So the 3 days of Memorial Day weekend, they made 3,900 preventions, 222 rescues. They made contact with the public 1,800 times. They made 407 rock warnings, 6 boat rescues, 5 code enforcements, 9 dog warnings, 40 first aids, 9 medical aids, and 11 stingray wounds. I just bring it to attention because I think it's important that our lifeguards, we give recognition to them. They're protecting a lot of assets out there on the beach. So that's kind of a sampling what occurred this weekend. We had a large swell. It was really warm and it was a nice holiday weekend. So one of the larger attended crowds in recent memory. But the battalion chief had made mention that with the available personnel, they were able to put into service a majority of their operational assignments, but were not at full summer strength. So stepping up big was the rookie class of 2025, who performed more than admirably, proving themselves motivated, capable, and coachable. So they said it's a solid group, and they probably gained more experience over the last 3 days than many previous rookie classes had gotten over the first month of an entire summer. So I think that's really great. We did just do that MOU, and I think it speaks to that greatly, that we're looking out for our guys and they're looking out for us and our residents, businesses that are out there that attract those tourists and residents. So I think it's important that they're out there, and kudos to you guys out in the audience and to our seasonal guards that are going to probably have a busy summer. There's probably going to be some more Pacific swells and warm water headed our way. So I think we're going to have, it'll be fun for us, but it'll also be busy for the guards. So I appreciate their hard work.
Terrific. Good report. Councilmember Bartow.
Yes, I attended many Memorial Day celebrations along with my fellow council members, including Newport Harbor High School, the Exchange Club's Field of Honor Memorial Day celebration, and was pleased to attend the fire department badge pinning this morning. I also attended the Santa Ana River Flood Protection Association meeting in an effort to increase collaboration across agencies regarding pollution, trash, and our sand replenishment. And I'm excited on the 31st to attend Fire Ops Day.
Nice. Fire Ops 101? Mm-hmm. Good for you. Has everyone gone through that? Oh, you are? Mm-hmm. Okay, calm down. Did you go to the top of the ladder? I had to because Councilmember Grant did, so I didn't have a choice. Okay, thank you, Councilmember Bartow. Councilmember Grant, calm down.
Yes, there is a lot going on in town with graduations and Memorial Day. I'll just quickly mention a few, and then I wanted to highlight one thing. We had the 53rd class graduating from the Citizens Police Academy, and we always look forward to that wonderful occasion. I continue to represent the City of Newport Beach along with Councilmember Kleiman on the California Sober Living and Recovery Task Force. And we were both able to attend a press conference sponsored by the League of Cities in support of legislation that would increase oversight and transparency over sober living, such an important issue in our city and all throughout the county and the state. I also was able to attend the Sheriff's Harbor Patrol 50th anniversary. That was a great occasion to celebrate the sheriff in our harbor. And the same night, the 2025 Good Sea Scout event honoring our residents, John and Ann Wortman, and all they do for our community, and especially the Scouts. I want to thank the Sean Levin and his team at the Recreation and Senior Services Department for an outstanding Oasis Community Resource Expo. There were hundreds and hundreds of people there, and so many important partners in our community serving our seniors. It was a wonderful experience. We had a lawn bowling open house. I know many of the council members attended that. Exchange Club Field of Honor. I was able to coordinate with Councilmember Bardo and Councilmember Wygand and help the airport working group with their annual meeting. We were able to sponsor their dinner. And then finally attended the 62nd annual Commodores High School Athletic Awards, honoring our superior athletes in our community. They are really remarkable high school students graduating, going on to great schools, but also had given a lot to their high school education. The one thing I did want to mention was the great work done by our fire department with the first teen CDM high school cert graduation. This was the first class, 61 students, grades 7 to 12. They were guided through the California Emergency Response training by Fire Services Coordinator David Gibson, who is an amazing partner in our city, and his team from the fire department. They completed the drills to skills and graduated from the program, and a shout out to the girls from the Newport Beach National Charity League who were so effective in playing victims that needed treatment, and so the class could have some hands-on experience. Thank you.
Terrific. Very busy. I like it. Councilman Blum.
Nothing to report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Weber.
Nothing.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleinman.
No report.
Okay. Well, I got a big one. Very busy right now. State of the Bay. I got to MC the State of the Bay. The State of the Harbor's, I think, never been stronger. And thank you to Harbor Master Paul Blank and Bill Kenny for presenting at that. That was great. Thank you for having me. The police citizen graduation was great. I also did Leadership Tomorrow Government Day. I did a panel with other mayors from Irvine, Costa Mesa, and Tustin. That was a highlight. I presented to the Rotary Club the Harbor Patrol 50th anniversary. I was able to go there with our harbor master and our harbor department to acknowledge them for 50 years. And also kudos to the Wortmans for their Good Sea Scout Award. Touch a Truck was a huge success this year. Good job to our Public Works team per usual. I don't know how many kids we had this year, but it felt like there was probably over 1,000 at the end of the peninsula. It was a lot of fun. Armed Forces Memorial Day, a lot going on. I just got to give kudos to the Exchange Club for what they did with their Armed Forces presentations and the Memorial Day. 1,776 flags up at Castaways Park, and there must have been thousands of people that went through there over the last week. So another tradition in Newport Beach. Attended the Balboa Island Art Walk, gave out the Mayor's Award. That was a lot of fun. The piece is hanging in the mayor's office that I purchased and gave an award to. So if you want to see it, it's a great shot. It's a oil painting of the Balboa Pavilion. So oldest building in the city. It's good history. Also presented a proclamation of literacy project, the American Legion Salute to Service for those students that are coming out, and they did a real estate panel with Alpha Real Estate. Lots going on. Teen Cert was great, badge pinning ceremony. And I just got to say thank you to the entire staff, especially Erica Garrett, who helped put on Mayor for the Day. I thought Sadie Suselik did a great job, and it was a highlight. And she did tell me her favorite thing was the harbor tour, so well done, Paul. The harbor's clean, safe, and well enjoyed. So everybody, the police department, the fire department, public works, traffic, a highlight of all of you. Thank you so much for that. That was a special day. And the lecture hall is on time and on budget, so hopefully we'll do the ribbon cutting in December for that. So that was a great tour. And then I will tell you, if you see me out in the harbor, the El Moro Classic is this Saturday. I will be paddling from Newport Aquatic Center down to El Moro and back 15 miles, trying to hit my first qualifier for the Ben Carlson paddle for September 13th. So fingers crossed. If anything goes wrong, I'm on the record. Sunset Ridge Park, Stapleton Park. Yeah, and you can't wait 5 years. We'll waive council policies. We'll go from there. All right. Anything else? Madam Clerk, please read the notice regarding public comments on the consent calendar.
This is the time in which council members may pull items from the consent calendar for discussion. Those are items 1 through 13. Public comments are also invited on consent calendar items. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes. Before speaking, please state your name for the record. If any item is removed from the consent calendar by a council member, members of the public are invited to speak on each item for up to 3 minutes per item. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine, will all be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. Council members have received detailed staff reports on each of the items recommending an action. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the City Council votes on the motion unless members of the City Council request specific items to be discussed and are removed from the consent calendar for separate action.
Okay. Councilmember Weigand, do you have any items to pull from the consent calendar or conflicts to announce for items 1 through 13?
I do not.
Councilmember Bartow?
No.
Grant?
None.
Blum?
I have none.
Weber?
None.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleinman?
None.
I have none. Do we have a motion?
I move the consent calendar, noting the amendments to item number 1, the minutes.
Do we have a second? Councilmember Blom seconds. Okay, we'll now have public comments on consent calendar items 1 through 13.
Good evening, Adam Leverins, back about restrooms again. Consent item 7 is a bid for automatic locking gates for the restrooms. It looks like that will be rebid. I travel a lot and have seen this done elsewhere, and the locks, as pictured in the diagrams, they go back to key locks, usually in 3, 4, 5 years. And it might save some money to just have these gates designed to either have an old style deadbolt or tabs to put a padlock in case these things don't do well in the salt water. And I've noticed too, the Harbor Commission, in one of their last 2 meetings, they've removed restrooms from their goals and agendas for 2025. I don't know if the newest council members have heard me say this, but the others of you have. You know, on the peninsula at bar closing time, you've got hundreds and thousands of people exiting establishments, and the restrooms are locked. Both piers are open till midnight, and the restrooms are locked. And this leads to actions and scents none of us like. I don't know. I remember back in the day, I think the restrooms were open all night, and when it would be, I'm a night person, when it would be raining, sometimes you'd go in there and be people sleeping in there, which, you know, you don't want. But more accessibility, I think, is good, and I don't know how you manage that, but nobody likes what happens when people have to go to the bathroom and there's no restroom opened. And then the item 9, for the plaque for the Great Rescue of 1925, reading Mr. Mosier's remarks, he opined that maybe a plaque should be put down by the water. I wonder if it'd be cost effective for the organization raising funds for this if you got 2 identical plaques and put one high and low so more people would see it. I love this story, and coincidentally had just seen a documentary on PBS about the gentleman from Hawaii within the last several weeks. And then the clerk. You do such a fine job when you read ordinances by title, how quickly you get through, and I never detect any mistakes. You will be sorely missed. Thank you.
Well said. Second that motion. Okay, any other public comments on this consent calendar items? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back up here. Any questions or comments on council? All right, let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously, 7-0.
All right, Madam Clerk, please read the announcement for motion for reconsideration.
A motion to reconsider the vote on any action taken by the City Council at either this meeting or the previous meeting may be made only by one of the council members who voted with the prevailing side.
Any motions for reconsideration? Okay, seeing none. Before we go into closed session, we're going to adjourn in the memory of Robert Smith. Councilmember Grant.
Thank you. Yes, we adjourn tonight in honor of Robert Smith. Robert was a longtime resident of Newport Beach, and he influenced the lives of many through his work, friendship, and kindness. He was born in Columbus, Ohio, to parents Robert and Jenny Smith. He moved to Seal Beach with his family in '57 and attended Huntington Beach High School, where he majored in public speaking and psychology at Cal State Long Beach. In college, he met his wife of almost 50 years, another Newport Beach resident, Carmen Bowman. He taught psychology at Orange Coast College from '72 to 2004. And he was also actively involved in real estate development, serving as the project manager for Old Town Irvine Restoration Project and later as the project manager of Discovery Science Center in Santa Ana. Bob was very active in volunteer and philanthropic organizations here in Newport Beach. He served 8 years, two 4-year terms on the Newport Beach Arts Commission. I served 6 years with him. He then moved on to leadership roles at the Newport Beach Arts Foundation. He is one of 2 people, the other one would be Chris Trella, that can be credited with the original idea and longstanding support for the sculpture exhibition here in our Civic Center Park. Most recently, Robert started a men's group at Oasis Senior Center in Corona Del Mar to discuss man's third act, as he called it, about how to live well into old age, and he continued to work very closely with seniors in our community. Bob will be missed. He is survived by his wife, Carmen, their sons, Robert and Adam, 3 grandchildren, Ava, Olivia, and Colin, and 2 brothers, David and Dan. In lieu of flowers, the family requests donations in Robert's name to the Newport Beach Arts Foundation. Thank you.
Well said. Commissioner Smith, you will be missed. Now's the time for public comments on closed session. Are there any public comments on closed session items? Okay, seeing none, we'll now go into closed session. Mr. Harp, do you have a closed session announcement?
Thank you, Mayor. The council will adjourn to closed session to meet the city's labor negotiators regarding negotiations with the union set forth under item 16A, and to meet with the city representatives regarding the Kia Management Group, as well as to meet with legal counsel regarding the case titled Cristela Hausman versus City of Newport Beach. Thank you.
Okay, we stand adjourned, or recess. Thank you. Okay, we're back in session. Mr. Harp, is there a closed session report?
There's no closed session report this evening.
All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you.